Okay, in this video I'm going to take a look at RStudio Cloud, which is a browser option. RStudio is generally can be used as a desktop application, and you can put in code into console here, and you can run estimations based on scripts and data that's available either through packages or you import in. But another option is RStudio Cloud, which is basically if you go into your Google or your Internet Explorer, you can go into RStudio Cloud, and you can get started by logging in. Okay, now if it's your first time to use, then obviously you should sign up. And there's just a couple of steps that you've got to include, so outline those, or sign up with Google or sign up with GitHub if you've already got those type of accounts, and then use that for logging in. So I'll go into Chrome browser just to show you that. So if we just search for RStudio Cloud, if I double click here on RStudio Cloud, that brings me into my projects here. I have a few projects already set out here, so we can create a new project, and we need to give it a title, right? So what this allows us to do is we can create a project, and so I'm going to pause here for a second while that. Okay, and that normally takes a second, so there can be a little bit of latency on the server. Again, everything you create here has to go up to a server, and again, HMDA. Now, previously I used a version of RStudio Cloud in IBM Watson Studio. There is some restrictions when you set out. So, for instance, just to illustrate that, if we come here to IBM Watson, right, where I've set an instance of an implementation of RStudio, but in the Watson Studio, IBM Watson Studio, it's perfectly functional. There are a few restrictions on it. If you're dealing with slightly bigger projects that are completely R-based, RStudio Cloud probably offers a little bit more. Whatever I do here in terms of the video clips, I'll leave a link to both the videos and the code in this Google Sites portal. Okay, so let's go back to RStudio for a moment. If you want to create, so this is a brand new project, it's empty, we'll have to create another name here, 1 maybe, or perhaps test. And okay, test, and if we want to enter some code here, we just go File, New, and RScript. So File, New File, RScript. And that allows us then to enter some RScript here, which we can then execute in the browser. Now, if we want to go back to the workspace to see if we altered anything, we can just take a look here. So we have HMDA, so that project is still fine. And then the one I'm currently working on, HMDA test. Okay, and we'll open up the project, and it's relatively okay in terms of accessing the project, in terms of speed. Now, we're going to base, again, the material here we're going to explore is coming from Hal Varian's paper, Big Data, New Tricks for Econometrics. Hal Varian, published in the Journal of Economic Perspectives, 2014. And if you go to the Journal of Economic Perspectives, there are some resources there that allow you to get the code that is used to run some of the estimations here, right? So some of the analysis that's provided by Hal, right, we can replicate that, and we can replicate the graphs and the outputs in terms of the implementation of random forest, bootstrapping, bagging, boosting. Random forests, we can get that the original code from which he generates these results. So that's quite handy. Okay, so I have snippets of that code, and I'll also augment with some tidyverse material. So to get the ball rolling, what I'll do is I'll just examine a little bit more closely the HMDA dataset that was created by Manel et al. There is HMDA data that has to be collated each year for the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, and that's by law, and that's been running since the 1970s. And Manel et al. 1996 augmented that HMDA data with their own data that they had collected in the Boston metropolitan area, and they had a data set of 2,000, actually more, but the data set that is used in the Halvarin paper consists of 2,380 observations. So let's take a look at let's explore this data set. And okay, to do that, I'm going to use some tidyverse script that I put together myself, and we'll just try to unravel a little bit the detail behind the data. So let's just pause there for 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to paste in some scripts that is just basically application of tidyverse. Tidyverse is kind of powerful package within RStudio. Now we have within that was developed for RStudio. Now just to check our packages here, let's just verify that tidyverse is available. Tidyverse, do we have that here? Tidyverse, tidy, and doesn't appear that we have it here, so we probably need to install, and then tidyverse, and then just install, and we'll pause while that's installing. Okay, so that's installing here now, and you can see we're going through a process. So okay, so that's installing here in the HMDA test workspace, and it'll take a minute or so. And tidyverse is a suite of different packages, about 8 or 9 packages, including ggplot2 and dplyr, data transformation, knitter, so on. So there's quite a lot there in that. We can take a look, and you can see there's quite a bit there. So that's installed. I need to also install the ESAT package, so let's just do that. Install. Now ECDAT, this is just economic data. It's just a package that contains data, so not so many functions, more data, and takes a moment or so. So I'll just pause, and this should be a little bit faster because there's less content here. It's just some data mainly, and you can see while that red stop sign is there, it's saying, look, you can't do much until it's installed. So okay, so let's install that. So it should be ECDAT it's prompting me, and then install. And now it's installing. So sometimes it doesn't work first attempt. You may have to try a second time or a third time, but it looks as if it's working. Okay, and that's installed. And then party is used for estimating the C trees, so we need to install that as well. And the conditional inference trees, we need party, so PARTY, party, and then install. And we'll pause for a moment because it takes a little bit of time. Okay, and that's installing, and I think it's completed, and then we need to make those packages available in the library. We load them into the library, so library ECDAT, and then library tidyverse, and that means all these packages now are available for graphing and for data manipulation. And then the suite that's quite powerful, party for C trees, conditional inference trees. We will load that in also for decision trees. So the data set we're using is, I'm using just in this snippet here, Halvarian code, and he invoked data HDMA. I think it will actually work if you put HMDA. We can look just to see what data is there. We can go question mark H, capital H, MDA, and just run, and then we will get help in the help menu here, HMDA ECDAT, and then we have a range of definitions for each of the variables that are included in the Manel et al. 1996 paper, right? And that same data set was also introduced in the relatively well-known Stock and Watson 2003 textbook, Introduction to Econometrics, and there's many newer additions to that textbook. That textbook is widely used in amongst statisticians and econometricians. So we want to load that data into our global environment, data HDMA, and so now it appears, and there was an issue again following in line with Halvarian code. Hal provided his code, so in his paper Big Data, the Journal of Economic Perspectives, he does provide a data set here where you can download code, the R code. So I tend to follow that in this instance quite closely, and some of the conventions then that are used. But for the moment I'm going to use tidyverse just to explore a little bit the data. One of the changes that Hal makes is that he changes condominium to condo, which is kind of a term widely used in the United States to denote apartments, right? And then there's a variety of definitions we have for the data. So DIR, debt, payment, total income. And what I'll do is I'll let you read those. You can pause and read the definitions here, but these are additional for the most part here. We're augmenting HMDA data with other data that was collected in 1990 by Manel et al. To bring on board extra insights into individual mortgage applicants, not only just their race and their gender, but we also wanted to have data relating to the burden that a particular mortgage would impose upon the applicant, the loan-to-value ratio, and then credit scores, consumer credit score, mortgage credit score, which is not generally available in HMDA, or wasn't available in 1990. Okay, so we can take a summary then of the data, which is quite handy, and that gives us an overview, breaks it down by the percentiles, the quartiles, first quartile, the mean, median, mean, third quartile, and this is for DIR, debt service to income ratio, and HIR, household expenses, and loan to value ratio. So for each of those then we have a breakdown. Out of the 2,381 applicants, it would appear that 339 were black, characterized as black or African American, and then the rest 2,042. And then in terms of the number of people who were accepted, who were denied mortgage, only about 10%, a little bit over 10% of individuals were denied mortgages. So the bulk of people would have been accepted. Okay, so we'll continue this in the next video clip.